Hello, everyone. Welcome again to our Tuesday comic preview show. I'm Jason,
I'm Andy.
and we're with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. Every Tuesday, Andy and I, after we're done bagging and boarding all these wonderful comics with our big Infinity Flux team that we need. I think there was like maybe six of us working on it today.
Yeah.
We divide up the comics we think most people will really want to know what's going on in. So obviously, pretty much all the number ones. That way, we can tell you what it's about, and then the hot issues. We like to, in a non-spoilery way, tell you what a comic's about. We'll tell you if there's a first appearance, a major death. We let you know why the issue's important or what sort of reader would like the comic. So we do this every single week. We're off to a little bit of a late start this week.
Yeah,
just a
so
big week.
many comics.
Yeah,
So many big comics, ones that demanded us read them.
yeah. I think I'm going to go over like 12 to 14. You're going to do the same. So by the time you're done watching this video, you're going to know a lot about what comics are coming out today, Tuesday for DC, and tomorrow. So you'll be ready to go in your comic store armed with information. So let's begin.
Woo! So now that my brain has settled, I can focus. Starting out with a book that I have been looking forward to. So many books that I've been really excited about came out this week. It's like they all hit me at once.
I know what one you're going to start with, though.
Do you?
Skybound?
Okay, yes.
Aha.
Skybound. Yeah,
so.
I mean, it's a toss-up. There's a few here. But I'm going to start with Skybound X. This is such a cool idea. So it's been 10 years since Skybound started. Skybound is a imprint of Image Comics. So Image has these subgroups that are kind of headed by different people. Skybound is Robert Kirkman's imprint that he's kind of in charge of, and has released books that some people may have heard of through this, like Walking Dead, like Invincible, Manifest Destiny, and so many more. And this is kind of a celebration of all those, plus it like new exciting stories. Literally like new stories in this. This isn't reprints, this isn't anything like this. This is all new from the creative teams of your favorite series. So this first one starts out with what is going to be our main story, our through line. I think this is the only story that continues from issue to issue, which is Rick Grimes 3000. Or is it 2000? Maybe I upgraded him by 1,000. It may be Rick Grimes 2000. But back in Walking Dead number 75, there is a backup story that is really funny how it seamlessly merges into it about there are zombies, of course, but secretly it's always been about aliens. So the aliens came down, destroyed all the zombies. They were just a way to weaken humanity, and now the aliens are taking over. It was a big kind of a joke issue. It was fulfilling a promise that Robert Kirkman made way back in the letters page that he was going to eventually do aliens. And so this actually contains that, I want to say it's like a 3 or 4 page little insert story that was in Walking Dead 75. I was really wondering, for people who hadn't read that, it's not the easiest thing to get a hold of. It's not collected in any of the trades. Basically, the only way you can read it is either get like a digital copy or have that original issue 75. But it does collect that story, so you're caught up on all of the craziness, where Rick Grimes once again wakes up in a hospital. It's like this running joke of him waking up in a hospital. This time, he has a robotic arm. There's like a superhero suit hanging in his closet. He goes out to find all of the cast members of Walking Dead are now this weird futuristic version. So you have Michonne, who has a lightsaber, and you have the governor, who they thought they killed, but no, actually now he has a robot body and a claw hand. It is crazy. It is awesome. It is such a fun story. I'm excited to see where it goes. That one is written by Robert Kirkman. The art is by Ryan Ottley. And it is just as gross and funny as you can imagine that team would do.
Yeah, that's the Invincible team.
It's the Invincible team, and it is right on par with Invincible. But it does also add pages that were not in that original 75. So you get like a more full story. and that's going to be continuing as it goes. We even know like later on it's going to be Negan, but he has like a laser bat versus Rick, who has a lightsaber like thing. So, super cool. The other things that are in this are there is a Manifest Destiny story, which is a great series about Lois and Clark going across America and discovering monsters. But the other really big one in this is a Walking Dead story of Clementine. Clementine is the spin-out character from the Walking Dead Telltale game that was on all the systems. It was a big success, and big part of that was this new character they introduced, Clementine, this little girl. Very compelling character, but has never appeared in the actual like main Walking Dead series. This is her first appearance. Like it says in the book, hey, this is her first appearance.
Oh, really?
So people know. It is not written by Robert Kirkman. It's actually by Tilly Walden, who is actually going to be doing a Clementine graphic novel coming up next year that is going to be like a young adult Walking Dead graphic novel. They reveal in this it is going to be 3 volumes long, so it's going to be a big story, and you'll definitely want to get this because this scene is branching they're bridging the gap between the Telltale games ending and the beginning of a new graphic novel. So wherever you leave her off, if you pick up the other one and be like, I thought she was at this settlement or whatever, this explains all of that. So it is a new story. The other big notable thing about this book is it will never be, at least they say, will never be reprinted in a graphic novel format. So this is your only way of getting these stories.
The comic. Are they doing second prints?
I don't know if we know that yet. I know we haven't placed an order for any second prints yet.
Yeah,
So
none have been announced, that's for sure.
So if so, it will be a long way off because I mean we've got our orders for months now.
Yeah.
So this is highly recommended. It's super fun. It's so over the top, but a great celebration of all things Skybound.
That's the first one I'm going to read later tonight. I don't have time to read them all, so I go home with the ones he's reviewed. I was waiting to hear all about that because I think Clementine's first appearance, that is such a huge deal.
I mean, if anyone's going to get a spin-off show later, I mean, Clementine is kind of a new Rick Grimes.
Yep.
So,
and on top of that, like this new young adult stuff that Skybound's doing, they're doing a new leg of Skybound, and it's not just Walking Dead young adult novels. They're doing several. They've announced like 3 or 4 of them.
Yes, and a lot of these in Skybound X are going to have new stories in those universes. Yeah. So big first appearance book to definitely jump on.
So I'd grab that at whatever store you shop at. I would definitely grab at least the I mean, really, I'm going to grab them all, but the first Skybound X.
Yes, so the A cover is the Ryan Otley cover with the Rick Grimes in his superhero suit. It's so good. I hope everyone who read Walking Dead reads this and it just blows their mind. We have a few variants, which are really awesome. So we have the Charlie Adler Clementine variant. You actually get the Walking Dead artist drawing Clementine. It just looks like a brand new Walking Dead issue.
First cover appearance.
Well, simultaneous.
Yeah, because there's another variant with her.
We have the James Herron one. That's the other story that's in this, is an Ultra Mega story that is kind of a origin story for some of the Ultra Megas. So, of course, we have the blank cover. We have the... there's actually a color version of this cover, and I think that we've already put it in all of our pull boxes who got it, because I did not see a copy out there. But this is the 1 in 10 Walden variant. This is the other Clementine cover, and this is the art that is in the Clementine story, and will be doing the graphic novels.
And zombies are reaching for her, and she is unconcerned. Like, you can tell she grew up with zombies reaching for her.
This is very indicative of the inside. When you see, like, how nonchalant they take out zombies, it's like there's one behind you, and they're just like, blah, and knock it out. It's very interesting. But we are selling that to our customers for $15. We have the 1 in 10 Adler variant for $15. We have the Heron 1 in 10, also for $15. And then we have the 1 in 25 variant that I'm definitely getting. And we are selling that for $30 for our pull box customers.
All right, so I'm going to start out with Batman 110. I don't know if it's just me. It feels like this one came out like a little late or something. I feel like I read 109 so long ago.
You're so all over the place with your Batman reading.
It is true, because sometimes we get advanced copies that we're allowed to read, like advanced digital copies. Anyhow, this one I did not get an advanced copy on, so it was really awesome to crack it open and check it out today. Batman is always one of my favorite reads. I think the story clips along very fast. There's always new, interesting things. And I like that as fast as the action is in Batman, they end up having good conversations. Yeah. And this is sort of the crux of this one as well. So fear state is nearly upon us. That is the thing that Scarecrow is bringing to Gotham that is going to scare everybody so bad that it's going to help Simon Saint get his magistrate program up and running. Actually, it's kind of already happened. So as of last issue, Peacekeeper 01 has been put in place. We saw him back in Future State and how he controls the whole sort of all the magistrates, and they go after all the masked heroes. Well, in the last issue, it ended with Batman coming face to face with Peacekeeper 01, and they were about to fight. So it was like, all right, cool. We're going to get to see this battle. Now, we know because of Future State, it's not like that battle
solves
ends
anything.
One of them. But you would just want to see what happens. You want to see how effective he is. So in this, you get to see the battle. But as they fight, they talk. And to me, the most important and interesting part is, okay, so Peacekeeper, it's been revealed who he is. He is a guard from Arkham. If you don't know about that, read your back issues. So it has you wonder, is he really a villain? Or is he just another police force who doesn't think Batman should do what he's doing? Well, they discuss this. They actually talk about, Batman's like, hey, I'm trying to help Gotham. And Peacekeeper 01 disagrees with them. And not just, hey, I disagree with you, but more, I think you're bad for Gotham, and I'm going to tell you why. And I know we've heard people tell Batman why he's bad for Gotham in the past, the Joker and other people. This guy's perspective, it's a little of what you heard before, but it's not completely. And what I'll also say is by the end of it, you will be scared of Peacekeeper 01. He's not a very nice individual. At first, you're like, oh, maybe he just disagrees with Batman. No, this guy is, he's trouble. He is bad. In fact, later in the comic, Batman talks to Harley, and Harley knows him from Arkham. And she's like, cool. Oh, it's that guy? Let me tell you about him. So it's not a situation of two people trying to do right and disagreeing. I mean, this guy is not good, even though he thinks he's good. He's no good. I don't think anybody who reads a hero comic would get behind him. So what else goes down on this issue? There is more with the Insanity Collective. So last issue ended with a big explosion. Part of City Hall is blown up, and Batman, and this was last issue, he figures out that they're trying to frame the Insanity Collective to further scare the citizens of Gotham. Well, Simon Saint and the Magistrate, they go after them this issue, and I'll tell you, by the end of the issue, the Insanity Collective is in a very, very bad position. So you'll just have to read to see what. You get more Miracle Molly. I really like her a lot. You get more Squeak. Squeak is in there again, too. So I thought it was a great issue. I always like it when you have a fight, but there's a good conversation. Yeah. And with Tanya's Batman, there's always like 10 other things going on, too. It's hard to sum it all up. And really, I don't need to. I think most everybody at this point is really on board with Batman or not, for whatever reason. So we got a variant here by Jock. I really like this. This does not look like the variants we've seen from Batman lately. Jock just summing up how good he is with some of these variant covers.
Yeah, you always need to keep an eye on Jock doing Batman covers because of course we have that classic Joker cover.
That Detective Comics one. Oh
Yeah.
man, it's one of my favorite.
It's
covers.
just like Jock doing Batman variants is a recipe for price spikes,
Yeah.
basically.
And the last thing I'll say is there's of course another backup story with Ghostmaker, where you get more of his origin. They keep fleshing out sort of his past and past villains. Ghostmaker's in the A story too. He has he has a good little bit in the A story because Batman needs some help. In fact, let's just say Batman almost needs everyone's help in this one. The Bat family is really they're helping him.
Being like, I'm a loner and here's all my family. The classic Batman trope. Okay, next up is another really big release. This is XMen #1.
Yeah.
What? An XMen #1? We've never got that before. But this is really cool. This is an interesting time frame to drop a new XMen #1 because we're kind of in the middle of this Hickman world of X-Men.
Right.
And this one is written by Jerry Duggan with art by Pepe Larraz, who is incredible. And this is really cool. So I read all the Hellfire Gala stuff, which was also Jerry Duggan kind of spearheaded a lot of it. And this, at the end of that, they revealed the new X-Men team. So that is your Cyclops, Jean Grey, Wolverine, which is X-23, Polaris, Sync, Rogue, and Sunfire. And what I really liked about this book is I feel like they've crafted a team that aren't creepy, other than maybe Cyclops.
That's an interesting take.
But the way Hickman's run has been going, the X-Men have a very, uncomfortableness to the way that they are growing and expanding.
They haven't been as heroic as they used to be.
Definitely not, especially when you read stuff about what Beast was doing and everything. It's very weird. This feels way more like classic X-Men. This feels like a fun team that works together, and they are going out to set up their new, they've set up their new home base in New York, which, it even kind of makes a joke in it about, New York, people who live here got a pretty crazy life. But it's cool because their new headquarters is called the Treehouse. And of course, because of Krakoa and all the plants, it is this giant tree house that's like the size of a skyscraper, but it's where the X-Men are now based. So you get a lot of fairly simple introduction. You don't need to have read all of the Hickman run of X-Men. You just kind of need to know the general stuff about Krakoa and where the X-Men are, the standings of the populace and everything. So it's really interesting, the dynamic between them, because like I said, they are a little bit, I guess they skew a little bit younger too, other than Cyclops. You have, Polaris, who's like the daughter of Magneto. You have Rogue. So it's a bit more fun. It's a little more jokey. And it's really cool. That something happens. It actually starts before the main story starts. That there is a character. I don't know if we've seen them before. I couldn't verify if they were first appearance because I didn't really get a name for them. But we know from Planet-Sized X-Men that the X-Men have basically taken over Mars and made it their X-Planet. Yeah, Planet-Sized X-Men. This man, it follows, is he was kind of a child prodigy. He was super, when he was 15, he'd already graduated college, that kind of thing. And his goal was to terraform Mars. Well, he got real close until one day he turned on the news and he saw that the X-Men beat him to it. And he is very upset about this. So we're planting the seeds of a lot of really interesting stories. The other big thing that happens is when the X-Men are all getting settled in, something crashes out of the sky like a comet into the river, and a giant part, organic part robotic creature comes out, and the X-Men have to, in very X-Men fashion, team up and take it down. But they team up in a very new way that may set up something for fans of things like Voltron. We'll say that. Super cool, kind of, I guess, kind of a first appearance of this thing. So we, without giving it away, we do find out what sent this creature, this thing, and that also sets up what I think is going to be a really fun, maybe could be a long form story for the X-Men. Could just be maybe the first 6 issues. It's all a lot more light-hearted, still more actiony adventure than a lot of the previous X-Men series that were very like melodramatic, very drama focused. This definitely feels more action. So I think this is a great. If you have been wavering on X-Men stuff lately, give this one a shot because I thought it was really good, really fun.
I mean, just the fact their base is in New York instead of Krakoa shows that the X-Men. It sounds to me like they're reconnecting with the world. They're just there to help the world.
Even there is a conversation with the Avengers and the Fantastic Four in this. Very brief, but it's kind of one of those. We're in New York too. You know, we got to work together when something happens.
Is Professor X in it at all? Because it seems to me like him and Magneto are like, we don't want to do that. And it's like these members are like, look, we need to go and be heroes to the world.
Yeah. Nope, there's none of them.
Okay.
And there's also a mysterious shadowy figure that you'll have to read about who is definitely trying to figure out how the mutants are regenerating from being dead. That feels to me like it's going to be the long game story. And I have some theories about who it is, just given their silhouette, but everybody will have to read and see if they can figure it out, because I think my idea would be pretty cool. Of course, this one has a ton of variants, really nice ones. So we have the Russell Dodderman, kind of a trading card variant that they've been doing a lot of. We have the Cassara Polaris variant. I think a lot of these connect as well. All of the Stormbreakers. This is the Cabal and Carnero variant. So it's like each of the Stormbreaker artists got to draw a character on this big, long connecting cover. Not a Stormbreaker, but he was a Stormbreaker back in the day. The Rob Liefeld variant. We have the Houston 90s homage variant. We have the Peach Momoko anime variant. We have, this is the Nick Bradshaw variant. I mean, everybody was getting in on this one. Because, of course, we have the Scotty Young variant.
Yep.
We have the Mueller variant, which I feel like they've been doing these since Hickman's run started.
Yeah, and that's technically a 1 in 10 variant, so your store, wherever you shop, might charge more for that.
This is the Peach Momoko and Iben Coelho variant, and I believe Peach Momoko did the Sunfire up there on the top, but it's very hard to tell. Almost through them. We have the RB Silva, Patrick Gleason, and Bustos variant. All 3 of them on there.
Marvel has their artists teaming up like they're the X-Men.
I know, it's cool. Then we have the Doily variant. And is that the 1 in 25?
That is, yep.
That we are selling for $25. Very interesting with the green on there too. We have the Gonzalez variant. This is the 1 in 50 Gonzalez. I love this one. We are selling for $30. And finally, we have the 1 in 100 Gleason variant that we're selling for $45. Woo! And that is one cover for every X-Men that's ever appeared.
Okay, also launching from Marvel this week is Extreme Carnage. This is Extreme Carnage Alpha #1. This is part 1 of an 8-part Carnage event that is just beginning with this issue. So there's going to be 7 more. They're all one shots. Like for instance, the next one after this is Extreme Carnage Scream. So I've been wondering, what is this going to be about? They haven't really said a lot. They're just like, hey, it's a Carnage event, symbiotes. If you like that stuff, pick it up. Which that's all they really have to say. I mean, if you like Carnage, he's not in everything all the time. So when he's in so few things, you're going to check it out. So now that I've read it, I can tell you a little bit more about it. The first thing I could say is it takes place for sure right on the heels of King in Black. It's perhaps several months after, and there is a new political party that is rising up, a new person running for Senate on the platform of he is anti-alien, and in particular symbiotes, but even more broad than that. To the point that if somebody's like, well, hey, Hyrule an alien, it's like he still isn't gonna go, oh, well, that guy's okay.
Yeah.
People died during the King in Black event, and not just superheroes, but humans died. And so a lot of this is this politician rising up, and you can tell right away he's not a good guy. I don't think it's a spoiler to say a politician in a comic is a sleazy character. Okay, so you just don't know how sleazy. You don't know what their real goal is. I'd say half the time a politician's in a comic, they are secretly being controlled by the very thing they say they're against. I'm not going to say if that's revealed or not, but that's part of the comic. Now, the other part is it has Carnage's name on it. But Carnage, at least Cletus Cassidy, he died. But did he? Can he die? What did we learn in King in Black? When people die, just like Eddie Brock died, you're in the codex. Your mind is left in a codex. I will just go ahead and tell you that Cletus Cassidy is still around to some degree. Surprise, surprise.
I thought he was gone forever.
Correct. I'm not giving you all the details. There's still a lot to read as far as, well, what does that mean? And even that mystery isn't completely cleared up. But yes, it is a codex sort of thing. And he has some big plans going on. It seems like so far, from what I'm reading, and some of this is me guessing, it seems like the Carnage symbiotes are different enough than Venom's that they have their own sort of little family, and he can spread, and he can have his own people, that it seems like they're outside the purview of Eddie Brock, who we know has become sort of omniscient.
Yeah.
Eddie Brock is not in this issue. Instead, who is in this issue is Flash Thompson. So Flash Thompson came back from the dead in Venom 35, also known as Venom 200, and you get to find out what he's been doing, which is he's been laying low. I think that's smart. It's like all the stuff he's been through, why would he go right back to superhero? And he does not. But just like with The Godfather, right when you're out, they pull you back in. He's a hero at heart. The symbiotes, they don't forget their own. And so as Carnage starts to make these new moves from the shadows, Flash Thompson gets involved. And not just him, funny enough, Iron Man gets involved. So Tony Stark, he learned something from King in Black. He was like, yeah, that was a really, really big deal that we didn't see coming.
Yeah.
So him and Flash have to team up in this as they try to figure out what is going on with Carnage. So that's about as much as I know about this. Like how Scream and all the other Carnage symbiotes are going to get involved, I'm not sure yet. They have not revealed Carnage's plan enough. But that's sort of a little teaser of what this is. So you got your politician on the one end, you got Carnage from the shadows, and you have Iron Man and Flash trying to stop things. That's basically what the issue is about. All right, so we got some variants. We have 2 different trading card variants. So here is this sort of trading card variant, and then with, of course, Carnage, and then here we have Agent Venom on the other one. And of course, as with any Carnage book, there are some people that get killed.
Oh yeah.
It's bloody. You just have to expect that with anything Carnage. Here is the wraparound variant. And then, of course, we have the Scotty Young variant. And there is a 1 in 50 variant they're calling the symbiote variant that we are charging our customers $25 for. I'm glad to at least know more about the book. It was a good read, but I didn't know what I was getting into. It's like
Yeah.
this character's gone, but I understand a lot more. But it is supposed to be a mystery. As much as I understand, still is. What is Carnage up to?
Yeah, and so are you confirming or denying that any of the other symbiotes appear in this?
They do not yet.
Okay. That's really interesting. You'd think, I mean, especially with the cover with, Phage and
Right.
Toxin and
They're
Scream.
each
and
getting
all
their
of
own one shots. That is the event. That
Yeah.
is the event. So
I feel like that maybe wasn't broadcast as clearly that it's an event, but the events are these one shots.
Yeah, that's why every time I've talked about Comes to the Future, it's a main thing I present because you don't want somebody later picking up Extreme Carnage Phage and it's like, whoa, what is going on? I thought this was just a singular story.
Yeah.
No, you're in part 3 of an 8-part thing.
Well, that's what we're here for.
Yes.
Information.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, do I have a lot of information in my brain about. I was just trying to think of a transition. Masters of the Universe Revelation. Honestly, this is a thing that I know a whole lot about if people know me. And I've been really excited about this. This was the other book that I was super, super excited. So we've got the Netflix Kevin Smith helmed Master Universe Revelation, same name, later this month. And this is the official prequel comic to that series. So this is by Kevin Smith and Rob David, are kind of the showrunners of the show. And this is not written by them, but it's like plotted, or they gave the idea from on high, and then Tim Sheridan is the actual writer for it, and the artist is Mindy Lee, and the colorist is Rico Renzi, and I want to mention that because Rico is amazing. This is really cool. So if you are a Classics Masters Universe fan or just getting into it, I think it's very accessible. So in this, as we know with the new show, it's taking place in the original timeline of the 80s cartoon. And it has been apparently kind of many years since all of those events ended. And basically, He-Man won. Like, Eternia is at peace. King Randor and Queen Marlena are, ruling over Eternia easily. And they kind of are reminiscing about, the king is constantly on edge, and the queen's like, you've got nothing to worry about. Like, Skeletor's gone, we're all good. Well, we all know that is not going to last. A creature called an Orlax attacks the king in his castle, and it is a crazy, like, giant pink tentacle monster that as soon as He-Man comes in to try to stop it, it vanishes. This sends him on a quest to find out what this creature is, and also what to do because it poisoned the king, and the poison is like not a visible thing. They can't figure out what's wrong with him. He's just kind of fallen into this unconscious state. It's really cool, and this had way more kind of lore behind it than I ever thought it would. It sends He-Man on a quest to find out what this creature is, and he learns that it has ties to his Sword of Power that go all the way back to the very first King Grayskull that Castle Grayskull is named after. So this is really cool. There's been kind of news reports and stuff about this does have, unless you consider the mini comics that came with figures, I mean, I'm sure those could also be considered first appearances, but I don't think, especially this version, this is a different looking version of King Grayskull than we've ever got, does appear in this. And we get some awesome history story that He-Man is observing about the creation of the Sword of Power and the lineage that, I mean, eventually leads to the current characters. But you see the kids, which are classic characters from the He-Man lore. And the other thing I want to mention is you do see Castle Grayskull, but how it used to look before it looked like a scary, dilapidated skull castle. And it's really cool. You learn why it changed. I mean, this is when they say like a prequel to the show, it's kind of a prequel to all of He-Man, and it's really, really nice. Um, I have a ton of notes here about it, but it would just be me rambling about like the lore of He-Man. But great characters. The art is very interesting. It is so we have the main cover that's by Stepan Sejic, and the interior art is more on the lines of if you're familiar with like Michael Avon Oeming, uh, maybe not quite as blocky as that, but it has a cartoony feel, but it definitely fits the story. Rico Renzi's coloring is amazing. It's vibrant, um, with a lot of like hot colors, hot pinks and greens and stuff. Really, really cool. So highly recommend picking this up. We've had more people jump on board with this than I think we ever thought possible.
Yep.
But I think everyone's really excited about the show. And I would keep an eye out for this because it really seems like they are the trajectory of He-Man right now is big. I mean,
it's a rising property.
yes, and we already know about like a second Netflix show that's coming out. We know that the live action movies in the works, all of that. And I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of first appearances in here because this is kind of their chance to give definitive versions of things now. This is the modern version of Master Universe, so it's like, okay, this is going to be the ongoing version of King Grayskull. This is going to be an ongoing version of Scareglow, these big characters that they're going to use later. So really, really fun issue. I believe it's maybe 5 issues total in the miniseries, and I'm really excited to get the next one. Also, I mean, crazy popular is this variant cover by Mike Mignola, which is just, I mean, his version of Skeletor is the best. It's so good.
Just completely different style than the A cover. Also,
yes,
like,
I
night
love.
and day. They're
Yep.
both awesome in their own way.
But yes, that is Master Universe Revelation #1.
Okay, so I read Mamo. This I did not know what to expect. It's another one where I read the solicitation. I was like, I'm just gonna have to read the comic. So this is a new comic from Boom Box. That is Boom's label for more all ages friendly stuff. And what the plot is, it's about this. Well, actually, let me talk about who's doing this. So this is by Sass Millage. She does the art, she does the cover, she does the writing. It's always cool when you got that one super talented person who could just do it all, because then you get that unified vision. This is exactly what they wanted to do, and I think the cover represent the interior art perfectly. Mm-hmm. So if you like that sort of style, it almost has like a painted quality to it a bit. So the plot of it is you have this girl named Jo. She's in a world, I can't tell how much it's like ours. It almost seems like a variant of our world, but like a little bit more old-timey. And in this world there is magic, but it's hard to tell. It's more like fairy-style magic. It doesn't seem like everyone has it. It's that sort of magic where people can get cursed, where there are fairies that'll play tricks on you. Well, Jo is trying to find this witch, this powerful witch, who she's never met before, because somebody has cursed her mom. At least she says that. She thinks that. And her mom has fallen very ill, deathly ill. And apparently all this other bad magic stuff's happening around her village. And their local witch is away or can't be found or is busy. So she seeks out this other witch. She runs into who she thinks is the witch. And it's this other girl named Orla. And Orla seems very disinterested to help her. But after some convincing, she agrees to try to help her. And the two have to try to get to Jo's house to find out what's going on with her mom. Is she cursed? Is she not? Is Orla really a witch? Is she not? Is she the witch that Jo thought she was? And then last is, who is Mamo? Why is this called Mamo? By the end of the comic, you will understand why it's called Mamo. Mamo is the biggest, baddest witch. And is Mamo good? Is Mamo bad? Is Mamo going to help them? Hard to say. I'll say by the end, it didn't look like she was going to help them very, very much. But that's kind of what it's about. So that's the general plot. I think the art really speaks for itself. And we've got a couple variants I want to show you. This is the 1 in 10 Wen variant that we are selling for $10. Then we have the 1 in 25 Veronica Fish variant for $30. It's just that very different style than you see in regular comics in one like this. You know, this is definitely not a superhero book. This is a whole different sort of storytelling. Here's the 1 per store Millage Virgin variant of the regular cover for $20.
And that is Boombox, so reading you felt like it was all age friendly.
Yeah. Okay. It didn't feel like a little kid's story, but at the same time, nobody's going to go to jail and get shanked by a knife and bleed out.
Yeah, I think that's what's good about Boombox is even though they call it all ages, stuff like Wind, I believe, is also Boombox now, which it wasn't originally. And I mean, that book is deep and interesting, and
I mean, all ages is Harry Potter. That's what that is.
Yeah,
it's stuff the parents don't have to worry about, but you can get as deep or as, whatever. You can even have depth. It's just how it's displayed.
Yeah, awesome. So a book that I'm sure everyone is waiting for. This was, I mean, biggest book of maybe last month when it came out. Yes. Nice House on the Lake, number 2. We've all been clamoring for number 2 because of the big cliffhanger in number 1.
It's another one I'm going to read as soon as possible tonight.
So this one I couldn't help myself, and I took home last night to read because I just had to. I mean, it was sitting right there. How do you not? And
you should have read it in the bath.
I know, but if that happened, the scene on the cover where these people are like slamming up against the window, no thank you.
Yeah.
Also, very weird place for a window. So, I mean, I will just right off the front say, this does not disappoint. I mean, it's almost pointless to say that about a James Tynion book now. He doesn't disappoint. You know, it may not be your speed or whatever, but it is quality writing. And with the way issue 1 was set up this world, of course, about this house, that all of these kind of former friends, acquaintances, they all knew this one guy through different parts of their life, were all invited to this nice house on the lake where they were just expecting to kind of vacation or just hang out, reminisce with their old friend. And it turns out that there's more... I don't know if I would say sinister things, because what happened to them may be a good thing, but they know that they can't leave kind of the property line of the nice house on the lake, because outside of it, the world is just...
turmoil.
Yeah. Like, people's faces melting off. And they are assured that they are safe within here, within this house, and they are, they should love this, because they'll have everything they need, all the entertainment, all the everything. I thought it was a super cool setup in issue 1, but I was like, how are you going to tell the story inside this? It's a big house, but it's not like this never-ending mansion and this property. How do you expand on this?
And they have the lake.
And the house is nice. But this issue 2 delves into kind of how each of the characters know each other. And some don't, because they all have one mutual friend, but some of them went to high school with them, some of them went to college with them. There wasn't a whole lot of crossover, but they all know that, especially because of what happened at the end of issue 1, some craziness, that there's more to this guy who invited them there than meets the eye. And they all kind of reminisce about, did you have any weird signs about him when you knew him? And the general consensus is, no, he was like a really good person. He was always there to listen. He always really cared when you told him about your troubles. He was very affectionate. And I think that's a super interesting thing, is you're expecting it to be like this maniacal character, and it's not. It's not giving away too much to say, because there's a lot more that comes out about this character. One thing I did really like is when the flashbacks, you see when this one guy that's at the house and this central character that they all know were roommates. The guy's room is full of like classic comic books, and so there's like V for Vendetta and all of this stuff, which is a running theme through there. There's multiple points where you can look on bookshelves and it's, um, you know, mostly DC comics, but
That's a way to get to know the characters through their taste.
yeah, and that's another key to it is not a spoiler, but it's something very interesting that happens in it. Is while a couple of them are exploring this house, they run into a bookshelf, and on the bookshelf is things like I'm trying to remember what comics are on it, but I want to say at some point you see Dark Knight Returns, you see Watchmen, you get all of the classics, and one of the guys is like, "Oh my gosh, these are all the books that when I was younger he recommended that I read and I never read." And so you find out this house is like tailor made for the people in it. There's a lot more. You find out how the different characters are coping with the stuff that's going on outside. Some are doing better than others. Some are thinking, hey, maybe we should make the best of this situation. There's an itinerary that this person has set up that's really cool. But the mystery deepens. You know, we'll say there's always mysteries behind doors and behind bookshelves that you'll have to wait and find out because there's more going on here than meets the eye. So, House on the Lake #2 is, you know, it's going to be a lot of people's pick of the week, I think, because it is very much like Something is Killing the Children and Department of Truth. It is so easy to talk about. There's so much to uncover in this, and I'm looking forward. I think this is going to be a great series. I think it's 12 issues?
Yep.
12 or 13 issues. So, I mean, I can't imagine where this is going to go, but definitely pick it up.
The most unsettling cover of the week. That bathtub cover is very unsettling.
Yes. We do have this variant by, and this is a very long name, Radhakrishan. And so if you remember the variant to #1 with the guy with his face all askew, and then you read the issue and you go, oh wow. Same with this. So the variant covers may look super weird, but they may be more relevant to the story than you think. So, Nice House on the Lake #2. Feel like I don't even have to recommend it. Everybody's going to pick it up. We sold out of issue 1.
Yeah.
I'm sure we're going to sell out of issue 2.
And we ordered a lot of issue 1.
Yes, it is well worth it to jump on board now while it's still early.
All right. Also, from DC, Wonder Girl #2 is finally here. I waited so long to read this. The art is so good. Joelle Jones. There's some really cool black and white panels that she does in this, where it's sort of somebody in the dark with like a single light on them. It's done so well. It's so cool. So at the end of our last issue, which was so long ago, it's definitely not a spoiler because this was a delayed issue. I don't think it was because of the creative team, though.
No.
I believe it was other factors. At the end of last issue, Yara had been pulled into the water, into the Brazilian river, by this creature, had been lured there. So this book starts out with that, and I would say it's like, the way I would describe it, it's the Serpent Woman and the Golden Gift. That's what I would call the beginning of this. Because the Serpent Woman has a story that she tells Yara that relates to her past. Very important story. Now, the story doesn't come out and say, okay, here's exactly how it all worked, and here's who you are. But you pretty much get it by the end. You do know who the serpent is by the end, or the Serpent Woman, Sea Woman, I don't know how to call her. You do get her tale, you get to know why she looks how she looks, but how exactly she's related to Yara, you don't know. Now, based on solicitations I read before this ever came out, I think it's probably Yara Flor's mother. That's who I think. But don't take my word on it. You know, it is not stated, and that's not a spoiler. That's me theorizing. She gives Yara a powerful gift that I think is going to end up being her weapon. So all that happens at the beginning of this. And let's see, what else happens in it? So once Yara leaves for Brazil in issue 1, all these other Amazonians and people of power are like alerted. If anyone read that first issue,
Yeah.
there's all the scenes of, oh man, something's going on. We need to,
It's a little Truman Show where everybody's like, oh, he's moving.
Yeah, there you go. Some people were happy, some were not. Well, you get more on that. You get more on what angles are they coming at? Why do they care? On top of that, the what's her name? The second Wonder Girl, the original Wonder Girls. So the first Wonder Girl was Donna Troy.
Is that Cassie Sandsmark?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cassie is in this. She's actually volunteers to go and try to find this person. They don't even know who it is. They just know, like, literally, they're like, she's somewhere in South America. And she's like, can you be more specific? That's a big area. And she's like, Brazil. And she's like, that's still not. Anyway, there's a little humor there. But she goes looking for her. So it looks like she's going to get involved. So, this is called Wonder Girl. And you assume the comic is about Yara Flor Wonder Girl. But now I'm actually wondering maybe it's about multiple Wonder Girls. So
that title of Wonder Girl.
Correct, yeah. So that kind of surprised me. Then a lot of weird things happen with Yara. Like these Amazonians who are after her, it is a big mystery. And even at the end of this one, it has my head spinning. There's a fight on a plane that is so weird and trippy with Amazonians attacking out of nowhere on this plane. It's a really cool fight, though. And it shows that Yara Flor, even though she doesn't quite know what's going on, she has a lot of confidence. Like, she definitely, you can tell it's like, you're not a regular person. Nobody would be this bold or this fearless in the face of things. But that's what you want from a new hero. And if she's going to someday fill the shoes of Wonder Woman, that's kind of what you expect. So fantastic art. Very interesting issue. I'd say half of it, very linear and cool storytelling. The other half, the storytelling was bizarre because it's the gods, Also, Eros, the god of love, gets involved at the end. And there's sort of a very interesting ending with him. So, I mean, it leaves you with a cool story, but also a lot to think about and try to figure out how it all fits together. So that's sort of my review of Wonder Girl Part 2, or issue number 2.
I love this variant.
So this variant is done. The artist's name is Mirai. That is the Mirai variant. And then we have the Wada variant. And you can tell it was delayed because it's one of the Pride Month variants.
Yeah. It's tough when they stick like the holiday ones on a certain issue, and then that's when you end up getting a Batman Christmas special in July.
I'm just happy this is here. I hope the third one's not delayed, because this is a story I feel it's going to read real well together.
Yeah. I also feel like they're pacing themselves really well for this character. It's not like, boom, right out of the gate where,
throwing you into Justice League.
Yeah. This is a slow building of this character, so when she does eventually become Wonder Woman, you're like, she got here. We saw that journey. So next up is a book that is kind of my pick of the I wasn't expecting this, but I'm gonna go ahead and talk about Fight Girls #1 from Upshot Comics. This is really interesting, and I wasn't expecting it. I was just, it's by Frank Cho. I was like, this is going to be really pretty, but we'll see about the story. This is a super interesting, fun, quick read that I really recommend. So in this, it is a kind of futuristic world, not because we see like flying cars and everything, but because we're kind of told and we see some little hints of tech around, but it's kind of one of those, we don't know what's going on the outside, but it's probably pretty technologically forward. We know they've got kind of space stations and that kind of thing. Well, in this, there is a emperor or empress of the universe, a queen of the universe, who doesn't have an heir to take over the throne. So to solve that, they hold this contest, and it's made up of royalty and peasants and all of that, and they're going to do this kind of Hunger Games style televised challenge where there's 10 of the women who get dropped into. In this first one, it's a jungle, but they say there's going to be kind of multiple environments. I think there's like 4, and they do spell them out in this, but the first one is the jungle. And their goal is basically to get to the end. There's a pyramid there. You slap the button on the top, you teleport out of here. Good luck. And so it does a really good job showing the 10 different participants in this. You find out where they're from, even though just kind of gobbledygook names of planets and whatever.
Zorp 12.
Yeah. But there's some interesting ones there that you can kind of suss out. Are they royalty or are they not from that? And when they arrive on this planet, they're kind of like, oh, well, there's our goal. It's just right over there. I think one of them says, it's like 10 miles away. We can get there by the end of the day or something like that. And, of course, it does not go that easy. This is a competition, and the infighting begins right away.
Right.
And I'll say there's 10 contestants. At the end of this, we've lost quite a few of them. And this is not, they fall on their butts and go, oh, rats, I'm out. No, this is death. Like, it's survive.
Finality.
Yeah, so...
Battle Royale.
So, immediately some get taken out. But this is a Frank Cho book, and he is definitely writing it to his strength. So... if you know Frank Cho's art, if you see some of his art books, he is an amazing artist at drawing dinosaurs, like environments, like jungles, of course, women, and that has all of this in here. There's the dangers of the jungle, like saber-toothed tigers. There's different kinds of dinosaurs. So it is super, super cool. Also, what's really cool about this is it is... if you know Frank Cho stuff, it does tend to skew a little bit more mature. This, I would say, is a solid, like, PG-13. It is... has some violent moments, but overall, I think this would make a fun, like, Hunger Games style movie or TV show or something with really dynamic characters. So, really cool book. Probably a lot of stores aren't getting too many of this. If they know Frank Cho, they may order a few, but I'm going to guess a lot of places under-ordered this, but I highly recommend it. It seems like it's going to go some really cool places each issue with the different environments and kind of how the contestants get through them, the traps and the monsters and everything. Really, really
I have to
fun.
say, the cover's color choice is going to make it stand out against other books. We put books up on shelves all the time, and we talk about why certain covers stand out.
Yeah.
Like yellow.
When you take a step back and you look at them, it's like, where does your eye go? It's going to go to this. And there's also this really cool Deodato variant where you see that she's swimming away from some kind of water monster, and stuff like that happens in the book. So if you're a fan of art, you get great, like, 2-page splashes of dinosaurs fighting each other and people running away. But also really fun, solid storytelling in it as well.
Yeah, I like competition comics like that, and I like where the stakes are that high, where it's not like you get zapped out, and then your belt teleports you out, and then you can cheat later and get back in. Where it's like, no, you die. It always reminds me. I guess when I was a kid, I saw The Running Man with Schwarzenegger. And some of that is just pure like cheesy craziness.
Yeah.
But I like that,
Yeah, and there's also a kind of a long-term story you could tell going on in the background where there's a question about one of the contestants, where they're from and why are they so good at this. There's also fun stuff about, like, people are betting and odds of the different contestants going up and down. Just a really cool, like you said, kind of a showdown comic. So...
okay, so I read Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 2. So even though usually we have Andy do all our Amazing Spider-Man stuff because he's been keeping up with the Nick Spencer series, I decided to do this one because this is a tie-in with Infinite Destinies. I've been keeping up with that. And so this is outside the normal Amazing Spider-Man stuff. In fact, this is more of a Star story than it is Spider-Man. Now, Spider-Man, he is in it. He's in it quite a bit. However, it's more about Star. Now, who is Star? Some of you may never have read anything that she's been in. She's from Captain Marvel originally. her powers were sort of a mystery for a while. Her powers come from the Reality Stone. And so the Infinity Stones have fused with certain people. That's what happened. They randomly selected some people. Star is the one the Reality Stone took. Not all these people are good. In fact, one of the people was the guy on Death Row, who we see in another Infinite Destinies comic.
When Star was on Thunderbolts, like,
Correct.
she's not a good person either.
No, she isn't. And that's where this comic goes. So she hasn't been in anything in a while. You get to see how she uses her power. So at first, she's wandering around the city, and she used it as a Reality Stone to make life better. But I don't mean better for everyone. I mean better for her in a very selfish way. And I mean, it's kind of funny, and you almost wonder, am I a jerk enough to be this way? Like, she literally does, like, one of the things she does, she walks by this guy who has a dog, and she likes the dog, so she changes reality to change the dog's name to what she wants. Yeah, which is Tater Tot. She calls the dog Tater Tot. And so the guy all of a sudden's like, yes, my dog's name is Tater Tot. That's what she uses
it's
a
so,
Reality
like,
Stone
petty.
for. Correct.
Yeah.
And she'll go in places, she'll rob places, she does petty crimes. She's not really trying to hurt anyone at first. But you get a sense that Star is very troubled, honestly.
Yeah.
You get a sense she's doing this stuff because she's had a bad life. And you learn more on this. In fact, maybe a quarter into the comic, she's done doing these silly things. She still feels empty. So she's like, you know what I need? You know what will make me feel better? Revenge. And you're like, whoa, that took a left turn. Well, she goes after all the people who've wronged her. And, I mean, she does some messed up things to them. In fact, in the end, this doesn't ruin the comic, but, like, her and Spider-Man have a moment where he's trying to, like, connect with her. And she's like, oh, well, thanks, Spider-Man. Well, I'll remember that. And he's like, no. I got to arrest you. You basically murdered somebody. So about half the comic is seeing how she handles her power and a little bit more of her history. And I think she's a really interesting character. Like, when she was introduced, she was kind of supposed to be like a hero, maybe. But she's not. But she's not a typical villain either. She falls really weird on the spectrum of hero or villain.
So often Marvel villains are like, I'm going to take over the world.
Yeah.
She's just like, I'm just trying to make the world better for myself.
Yeah, and she's a bit lawless. So Spider-Man gets involved because she's changing reality. And you know what? He's used to that. He's gone up against Mysterio. He's gone against people with the Infinity Gems. His spider senses help him a lot also. And so she's just basically trying to get away, and he's trying to talk to her about, why are you misusing this power? Come on, like, the things you could do. And he gets to the root of some of her sadness. He tells her about his sadness. Everybody knows Spider-Man. He's been through the ringer. So I have to say, I recommend it. I thought it was a very good issue. It was a great self-contained issue. All the Infinite Destiny stories are that way. You know, you don't have to have read the others. They're just catching you up with who has the stone right now. And by the end, you kind of learn, does the stone leave her? Does Spider-Man get her? Does she get away? You will find that out by the end because they're building towards something. I don't know what, but they're building towards something. I know Black Cat, they're about to have it where she's going to be hired in her series to track down all the stones. So I'm pretty sure this is not over yet. So that was what happened in that issue. And we have a variant by Ron Lim.
It's the Connecting. So
Yep.
if you've been getting all of those. And that is not by the regular creative team of Amazing Spider-Man.
No. Yep. Different team.
Well, it's my turn to talk about something super weird. If a Nice House on the Lake wasn't weird enough, not all these, we have sleigh bells. And boy, oh boy. So this is
Christmas in July.
Christmas in July. It's a thing. So this is a Bad Idea comic. So maybe not all your stores that you go to will have it. Very few select stores carry Bad Idea. We are one of them.
Until they turn into Good Idea or whatever they're morphing into.
And this is just a one-shot. So they've done a one-shot before with the Walesville and everything. This is by, I believe it's Zeb Wells and I believe his name is David LaFuente. He's done a lot of like Spider-Man variants and stuff. This is art on the cover. And this is a bloody, over the top good time where it is Christmas Eve morning and a dad is taking his son out into the woods to go hunting, and they're gonna bag a buck and take it home, and the mom's gonna cook it for their kind of Christmas Eve dinner. But they go out there and they've been out there all day. They've been out there from sun up to sundown. The kid's now like playing on his phone, and just as they're about to leave the woods, over the top of the nearby hill, they see the silhouette of a huge deer. They take aim, and the kid pulls the trigger, only to find out that he has just shot one of Santa's reindeer.
I thought that's where this was going.
Which I don't know if I've heard that story before, but it's very familiar. Of whoops, I messed with Santa. But it goes over the top. So apparently, all of the reindeer, of course, are tied to the sleigh, and they're all tied together. They then start freaking out and running into each other, and it kills all of them.
Oh boy!
And where Santa was, I'm not sure, but he comes up on this, and he is mad. And of course, he knows who's naughty and who's nice, and so he pulls out his list and he scratches that kid off. And now Santa is on a revenge mission to take out this kid. And it is so over the top. You have the kid and his dad getting back home, and Santa trailing behind. But now he doesn't have reindeer. How is he going to get there? Well, he's gonna walk home. He's gonna walk and try to find him. And Santa, without his reindeer, walking down the street, when a cop pulls up and asks him what he's doing, he says, "I'm just bringing toys to kids that I've got here in my sack." And he goes, "That sounds weird. You're
Right.
under arrest." So now it's Santa fighting the cops, running from the law. He hides out at a house of a woman. You find out once a year at Christmas, he makes the extra. He's got a little something on the side.
Oh man!
It is just
Poor Mrs. Claus.
so wrong. But the art is so cartoony that the violence is not grotesque. It's just crazy. It's kind of a Rick and Morty type violence. But it's got a really interesting ending. It is definitely not for any young kids, but if you're looking for a fun one-shot, recommended, because I had a lot of fun with this one. The other thing I'll say about this issue is, like all the Bad Idea books, it does have a backup story, and it is one of the weirdest things I've read in a long time. So it's called For a Good Time Call, and it is not even beneficial for me to describe the story because it is so wild. You'll have to read it and see. It's just like someone did a Mad Libs of a like a robbery scene, and the words they threw in were the craziest words they could think of. So that is the backup story. Super fun. All the Bad Idea books always have some kind of really fun hook to them, and I think this is a really good one.
Yeah, I mean, everything I've read from Bad Idea has been just enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoyable and different and refreshing. Like,
Yes.
I haven't read something like this in a while.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I guess next one I'm going to talk about is Basilisk #2. I really like the premise of this comic. Like, before I read #1, the idea that these mysterious figures who all have powers related to the five senses, so each one represents the five sense, appear out of nowhere, and their powers kill them. They're lethal powers. I just thought that was such a cool concept, and I've read enough Cullen Bunn to know that I thought he was going to pull it off well. Well, issue #1 was fantastic. We've sold a ton of it. Everyone's been really happy with it. So I'm happy to report issue #2 holds up just as well. If you liked issue 1, definitely grab issue #2. Every bit is good. So I like that Bunn is smart enough to roll it out a little bit slowly. You know, he could have showed all 5 of the sun's powers off the bat. But instead, he held back. He showed us a few in issue #1. Well, in this issue, you get more. And one of them that I most was wondering about was, what will taste do? How will the power of taste be used in a deadly manner? And it didn't disappoint. I wish I could spoil it, but I won't. It's messed up. It's good. It's creative and it's creepy. That's the other thing. I think this will make a very good. This book is horrifying. Their powers are scary. Okay, so in issue number 1, you have the one of them who is Sight. She has left the other group. The whole group, they're called the Chimera or Chimera. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. She left them a while ago, and it's not really clear how long she's been gone from the group, but she left them. It's not really clear as to why. It doesn't seem like there's bad blood or anything. It's like she just went off on her own. Apparently, after they killed lots of people, maybe not all of them felt like that was a good thing. It's almost like they didn't know why they did it. Some of them seemed to relish it, and maybe she didn't. So Sight, her name is Reagan. Last issue, she gets kidnapped by, kind of taken for hostage by this disgruntled woman who obviously has lost a lot because of what they did. You get to learn more about what she lost in this issue. And so the two of them are still traveling. She's trying to use her as bait to lure the rest of them out. That sounds very dangerous.
Yeah.
I mean, these people are very, very powerful. Like, we're talking God-level powers related to the senses that all equal death for the most part. So you know that this woman who's doing this, she doesn't care about herself. She wants revenge. Plain and simple. So as dangerous as it sounds, she's doing it. Well, when you read the issue, you'll find out what she's doing is even more dangerous than you expect. A lot of it also is asking, has Reagan really turned on her fellows, or has she not? And Bunn really, he shakes things up this issue as far as that question. I think by the end of issue 1, I was pretty solidly thinking, Reagan has turned against this group. She's actually okay. This issue, I don't know. I'm not sure. Some things come to light that are different. You also get to really find out more about the other characters. Not entirely, just enough. Like, I don't know. Like, he's really hitting all the right notes with this one as far as keeping the characters interesting, revealing enough that you feel like, wow, I've learned a lot, but making you want more. Like, I really, really can't wait for issue number 3. So we've got some variants I'm going to show you. This is the Simmons variant. Now, if you recognize this art style, it's probably because you've been picking up Department of Truth stuff, because Simmons been doing some work over there. And we have the 1 in 25 Virgin variant of that for $25. I think you can guess which sense you're getting right there. The Touch Girl. The Touch Girl seems like she might be their de facto leader. That's the sense I'm getting, and she is not the nicest individual.
Does it mean they don't have the other senses, or they just
each one has one sense? It doesn't mean it's not like she's blind or anything.
Okay.
But they only have one superpowered sense, a person. And then here's the 1 in 25 Albuquerque variant. We are selling for $20. This is another one of them that gets featured pretty prominently in this issue. He's a bit of a big mouth, a bit of a talker, and you need that. You have your creepy silent characters. Well, you need the character that sort of
kind of the smart mouth for the team.
Yeah. So
okay, the next one. Make sure I grab the right one. Not a whole lot to say about it, but kind of a key thing to mention about it. This is Suicide Squad number 5. So we're kind of out of the crossover with Teen Titans Academy and Suicide Squad. And this kicks off a new story. And I think the key to this issue is the main character it spotlights is Bloodsport, who is going to be in the new Suicide Squad movie. And I don't know what kind of communication that they had between the comics and the filmmakers. But if you were familiar with the original Bloodsport and his look, I mean, looks nothing like what he does in the movie. He had basically like a tank top and a bandana on his head, and he just carried guns. But it was revealed in an interview, I believe, with James Gunn, that he said that the movie version of Bloodsport actually can pull off parts of his suit and hook them together and make new weapons for the situation that he's in. Which was in the original Bloodsport. That version of the character is introduced in this. They apparently are from Earth 3. Their suit is very, very similar to the movie version, except for they have like a skeleton lower jaw, and I don't know if that is part of the suit, like, almost like a bandana or something that's just really
Right.
tied on there, or if he really does have like a skeleton mouth. But he does have the suit that he can pull weapons out of. And so I think this is a way to bring in that version, make people more familiar with this new version of the character. The other thing about this is it's kicking off this Earth 3 version of Suicide Squad, this storyline where it's going to be the Suicide Squad hunting down the Earth 3 Justice League, or the Injustice League, with the crime syndicate and everything. So really cool issue, and one that I didn't hear anyone talking about, but that this version of Bloodsport is basically the version from the movie.
From the movie, yeah.
So I think that is kind of a key note about that one. Also has this really cool variant cover, this Perel variant, which, I mean, I thought at first this was a crime syndicate variant cover, but that book didn't come out this week, but it has them on there.
All right, so I read Batman Secret Files, #1, The Signal. This is not a one-shot. That's the first thing I want to get across to people. Because when I look at this, to me, it says one-shot.
Yeah.
But it ends with to be continued. So I actually wasn't even sure of it until I hit that. So The Signal is Duke Thomas, who basically, if you haven't read his stuff, it's like Batman took somebody who has superpowers and said, you know what, I'm going to train a superpowered person and make you part of the Bat family, because that's just a great idea. And it is a great idea. And he didn't just train him to fight. He's trained to be a detective, and he is trying to make the Signal be the Batman of the daytime. Mm-hmm. He is supposed to protect Gotham during daytime because the Signal has all this light power. Mm-hmm. His powers are pretty interesting, very, very useful. So in this issue, Signal, we haven't seen him in a little bit. He's been in Batman a little bit. Mm-hmm. But Batman's talking about at the beginning of the issue about death metal and all, and he's like, okay, I've been training you, and then in death metal I was training you, and guess what? Your training, I think it's over. I am now going to let you go out. You're going to be the Batman of the day, but, and in true Batman form, he's like, but you're going to report to me every night. I'm going to tell you what to do. Like, he's like, I'm going to give you freedom, but you have to do it exactly my way.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny opening scene to that. So the first assignment is Batman makes him aware that there is a thing called the white market. Mm-hmm. So I guess you have your black market and you have your white market, which the white market happens during the day. And so when I read that solicitation, I was like, what?
Yeah.
Now I can tell you generally what it is without ruining it. The white market is where a bunch of criminals, some of them super criminals, meet, and they have devised a manner that they can do this during the day and not be seen or found or heard. And that's all I'll say. Mm. Okay? It's not just a building. It's not just a place. It's a little bit higher of a concept than this. So I was kind of shocked when the Signal was able to figure it out. So all that was really cool. All that was very interesting story. I was like, okay, cool. There is really some stuff for him to do during the day. Batman was right. The other thing to it, though, is the Signal has had ex-teammates and team members who he runs into who he's got some really bad blood with these people. Mm-hmm. I haven't read all the Signal stuff, so I did not know, but they blame him for leaving the team, for being Batman's favorite guy. I mean, they really kind of diss him, and it's like, fist fight sort of situation. Yeah. So that was interesting, too. I didn't know he had other characters who hated him so much who aren't necessarily villains. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what happens in the first part of Batman the Signal, is catching up with him, getting told what to do by Batman, finding out his ex-teammates kind of hate him, and then him learning about the white market. I guess the last thing that I can mention is, okay, so he finds this white market, but what happens if they find out he knows about it? I mean, this is something no one's supposed to know about and no one has known about forever. They're not just going to leave that alone. And the Signal, he's young. He's got a family. You know, there are ways to get
Mhm.
at him. So it ends with sort of a cliffhanger. Uh-oh, you know, you're after them. Well, now they're going to strike back at you. So, and there is no variant to
No, I
that.
think it's just
Yep,
the one.
just the A cover.
Okay, next up is your weekly catch up with War of the Bounty Hunters. This is Star Wars Bounty Hunters, War of the Bounty Hunter. And this, it starts out by telling you this does still take place before issue 1 of War of the Bounty Hunters. So it does kind of set you up for what's to come, but, you know, people have read that by now. But it's still really interesting. Not a whole lot to go over with it. You know, if you're reading the series, you know. But a few key things I wanted to mention about it. So this is our first full appearance of Deathstick, which is this bounty hunter assassin that you see on the cover, who actually first premiered in a video game that you can no longer get. So it's very funny that they pulled her out of there. I think it was it's an app, like a app store game that Deathstick was in, and they like since discontinued it and you can't download it. But this is, she appeared just briefly in the previous issue. This is her first full appearance. Other thing is there is kind of a recounting of a story where you kind of have your homage pages, your, you know, a little bit over here, a little bit over here, that shows off a lot of characters. And I did not go through and check if it's the first appearance of every one of these characters, but there's a lot of them that are very tied in with the Clone Wars era that I don't believe have ever shown up anywhere. One of them is, without being named, I believe a character that's been in The Mandalorian, who has had a first appearance, but it was in a kid's book. So there is a lot. You might have to do your research and figure out all these characters if it's first appearances, but some really cool key things happen in this recounting of the, you know, the history of this character and the Clone Wars and all of that. So, yep.
Okay. So Captain America issue 30 is coming out tomorrow. This is the last issue for the run by Ta-Nehisi Coates. Yeah, Ta-Nehisi Coates. It's his final issue. So when final issues happen, the thought is always, is something big gonna happen? Is something, you know, just monumental? Is the writer going to be like, I kill off Captain America, good luck next writer? So this issue, if you're just picking up for spec, I don't think you have to worry about that. There are some neat things that happen, though. I'll just talk about it sort of briefly. I haven't been keeping up with Captain America every single issue. I've been just sort of dipping in here and there. And what I will say is Captain America has a long dinner and conversation with Red Skull. So that's not something that you expect. I mean, when he sees Red Skull, it's just punch him in the face. You know, punch the Nazi.
Yeah.
But that's not how it goes down. And they actually have a long conversation. So that's, I think, a big part of this. And I think Coates had some writing he wanted to get out of what if two forces like that, for one moment, you know, talked instead of fought. Yeah. You know, and they still totally hate each other and disagree. So that's a really cool scene in this. And then it does end, the most eventful thing is a character takes up sort of a new villain mantle. There's a character who's like, that's it, I'm a villain, my name is this, and basically I'll be back. So it's not a first appearance, but it is new villain mantle taken
new
up.
Status quo.
Right, and I don't know if Coates has talked to the next writer or another writer, hey, you might want to do something. Or if it's just, you know, hey, you know, I set it up. See if you do it or not. Okay, so there is this variant. This is the Clark variant with the SpiderMan villain.
Next up is a new #1 from DC. This is Justice League Infinite. Or is it Infinity? Infinity. Should know that working here. Justice League Infinity. This is definitely for fans of the old Justice League and Justice League of America and Justice League Unlimited TV series. I mean, the art, just like how they were doing Batman: The Adventure Continues, that was basically a direct spin out of the Batman the animated series. This is in the style and storyline of Justice League Unlimited. So you get very much the same art style, kind of pseudo Bruce Timm, and it's pretty all ages. It's really fun. You get that classic thing that Unlimited did where you've got tons of just different weird characters all together. You've got Booster Gold and Fire and Ice, and along with Flash and Martian Manhunter. You get all of your favorite characters in it, and it's really cool. I didn't get to read it like super close, but I'm really excited about reading it because I was a big fan of the show. But yes. So this, I believe it's a mini-series, just like how the Batman the Adventure Continues is a mini-series, but they've been doing...
They'll do different seasons.
Yeah, they do like different seasons of it. So you've got that awesome Francis Manapul cover there. And then you have the Scott Hepburn variant.
All right, so here's one I think a lot of people are going to sleep on. It is Orcs in Space. Now, why is this one maybe poised to be something? A few reasons. So this is co-written by Justin Roiland. Justin Roiland, of course, is the co-creator behind Rick and Morty. He's the co-creator behind Solar Opposites. So his stuff gets turned into TV shows that end up with multiple seasons. So a couple reasons that I think this one people might sleep on. For one, there's that other Orcs comic that just ended. I can't remember
Orcs
the name of it.
Boom.
Yeah,
it's just called Orcs.
Right, and so I think, okay, so that one, it started out, a good bit of people were reading it, but by the end, it kind of dwindled down. I think people are going to confuse it. I think people are going to see this and go, oh, it's that Orcs comic that I either didn't pick up or I was reading and I fell off, but this is not. Secondly, I read an interview with Justin Roiland where they were asking, well, why'd you do this comic? And he said, well, we were designing this for a TV show, probably animated, and Ani came to us, Oni, and they were like, hey, do you have anything you want to make a comic? And we were like, hey, you know, that would be a lot easier than making this a show. We might as well just do a comic real quick. I mean, think of how much work you'd have to put into a full animated thing.
Yeah, the budgets are millions of dollars.
Yeah. So he was like, they offered, and we were like, sure, let's make a comic of this first. So to me, that says that this is very likely going to be a show at some point. But there's no confirmation. There's no, it's been optioned, and that's the best time to grab things like that. So I'm grabbing a couple copies. I didn't have time to read this entire thing. It's big. It's a thick issue. I did leaf through it. It looks very funny. The basic premise is simple enough. This Star Trek-like group of people land on this world with these dumb orcs. And while they're off exploring, the orcs wander onto their ship, and their ship is super advanced. It's got a great computer, super advanced. Well, they end up leaving with it. So that's the premise. It's what if a bunch of, you know, very dumb people got a hold of one of the most powerful, intelligent ships in the universe, and they just bumble around and do dumb things with it. Meanwhile, the Star Trek people have to hire someone to try to go after them. They have to try to get it back themselves. So that's the premise. I thought the art looked really cool. It didn't look like a flash in the pan, I'll say that. It looked like they really tried on this. I'm going to sit down and give it a good read because I like Rick and Morty a lot. I like Solar Opposites. So just want everybody to know that's why I think this one might be a bit of a sleeper, and it might be one you put away, and then in a year when they announce a show, it's like, oh, no one has that anymore. We got two variants. This is the Go variant. Also, this is a double-sized first issue. And this is the Vigneault variant. And I believe it is priced higher because it's double-sized, but I think all comics should start double-sized. That's just me.
Especially for issue ones. Yep. It really gets you hooked in there. Next up is Geiger #4. Just wanted to mention this is out this week. I read it. It is an awesome issue. It's always hard to be like, it's got first appearances, especially when it's this early in a book. But, you know, we have books now like Something is Killing the Children and a lot of, like, big boom titles that we, you know, now mention first appearances in. because they're now kind of taken off into the stratosphere.
Yep.
Geiger is set to go that direction. I think it's one of the best books coming out right now. This does have first appearances of characters. It's got some crazy, I don't know, disturbing things. We do finally see our organ people who, after all the radiation and everything, they decide not to wear hazmat suits, and so they farm organs from different people and surgically implant them in them, so they're like these crazy hybrid creature people. Really cool. You learn about the backstory of our main character, and we actually do not have. We sold out. We've had so many people add this. We are out of the A cover. So this is actually the other Gary Frank cover, which it seems like this does happen in it, and it's really cool. We have the Brad Walker variant. And then we have the Martinborough variant. And, I mean, this book is so good. Everyone should be reading this, because it is just Mad Max meets superheroes.
All right, so I read Crush and Lobo #2. Now, there is a reason that the names on this title are done in that order, because this is much more of a Crush book than a Lobo book. So I'm just going to tell everybody right up front that by the end of this issue, Crush is still not with Lobo, okay? So, you know, some people might not like that. Marika Tamaki is having a good time, and you can tell she likes Crush, and she wants it to be a Crush book, Crush heavy. Not that there's no Lobo, but it's like Lobo's like the looming guy in the distance. That's how this is playing out. And I think you'll enjoy the read better, because if you go in going, okay, when are they getting together? You'll be disappointed. But if you go in going, okay, you're going to learn about Crush, you're going to see this journey she's on while she's headed to Lobo, and as you get scenes with him and you're trying to figure out what's he really up to, you'll enjoy you got to enjoy the journey on this one. So in this book, we get flashbacks. We get to see the first time Crush ever met the girl from the first issue who dumped her. Crush gets dumped by her girlfriend in the first issue. And you get to see their first meeting, which is pretty funny and interesting, of how they ever got together at all. Of course, Crush is in not the flashback, but the regular time. She's traveling to the prison where Lobo is kept. He sent her a message saying, hey, I've been seeing this therapist, and I've decided I'm changing a little, and come meet me. You know, who believes that?
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, you still don't... Lobo still maintains in this one that he's changed. Yeah, exactly. That silence you heard. Yeah, the silence you heard. So on the way, though, Crush makes a couple stops. You know, she needs some stuff. She's out of coffee, just some essentials you need when you're traveling space. Crush has that Lobo charm to her, meaning people hate her.
Yeah. And
she gets in trouble. And that's what happens in this issue. Like, she can't make it from point A to point B without pissing some people off and getting in some major battles. And so I think that's the best way to describe the issue. We have this variant by Dan Morrow. And there we have it. Yes.
So, next up we have the second issue of Conjuring the Lover. So this is now like post Conjuring 3 being out. So we know a bit more about what's going on in this. I haven't got to read it as in-depth as I want to, because I feel like with these you've got to really mull them over, because there's a lot of like, oh, in the background of this scene there's this shadowy character and everything. But just want people to know that issue 2 is out. Also, these all have the backup story that have like an artifact, a haunted artifact from the movie, from The Room, that has, you know, all the cursed things. This one takes on the wedding dress. There's a wedding dress in there that's on a mannequin. You find out the backstory to that is really cool. I love that they're doing that. I can't wait to read this whole thing together in one big chunk like it's a movie, because it is definitely paced that way, and it's really, really cool. So We've got the A cover and then the great Ryan Brown variant that looks like a VHS.
Okay, I read Children of the Atom #5. We are out of the A cover. Sold out. We had some people sign up and just didn't have any left for the wall. This is the Chang variant. So in this issue, so this is past the Gala issue. And like I was saying, when I read the Gala issue, I was like, it's not a bad issue, but at the same time, it seems like the writer was doing something and then was like, oh, I got to pause for the Gala. So in the last issue, they were trying to get to the Gala, and instead the team got jumped by these people called the U-Men, who try to go after mutants, basically, to experiment on them, do bad things to them. And so the team all got caught except for the youngest member, JJ. He is the one who calls himself Daycrawler. He's able to teleport. And this issue is all about how can JJ rescue the team. And we saw at the end of last issue, so this isn't a spoiler, his idea is, I better go get the real X-Men. So let's just say that does play out. In fact, the X-Men go up against the U-Men, and it's not as easy as you think. You think the real X-Men, oh, they'll just take them out. But if these people, if their organization goes up against mutants, they have dampeners. They've got, they're not just going in empty-handed. So things actually turn bad, and it gives the Children of the Atom the chance to prove themselves a little bit, which I thought that's good, right? Like, you don't want to see a new team just lose, get saved all the time. Instead, they really get to throw in this issue, which is cool. But two other important things about the issue. One is, there's all the mystery as to, are they mutants, are they not, how their powers work. If you've been reading, most of that's been cleared up. I'm not going to say, just in case people haven't been reading. But I will say, there is a one-page thing on each character. It's just like a little blurb on each character and their powers that definitively explains how each one works. And it was really fun to read that. I really enjoyed at this far in going, okay, that's how they've been doing that. And as of next issue, if I talk about it, I'm not going to keep this a secret anymore. The last thing, and this is pretty major, so they've been invited to Krakoa before. That was a few issues back. They haven't been invited since, though, for certain reasons. The end of this issue, something climactic happens where one of them gets invited. If you've been reading, you'll probably know who. You'll probably know why. I think this is going to go somewhere, though. Not mean you got to grab this issue if you're specking on it or whatever. It'd probably be more like the first issue or something. But it's still a pretty big deal. I think this character, I think at least one of them may transition, if this book goes away, to regular X titles. And I think that's a big deal when, because when you have these books with all these new characters, who's going to stick around, who's not. And I think this issue will tell you who that's going to be.
Yeah. Is there... Oh, yeah, you showed the variant because we're out of the A cover.
The A cover, yep.
Real fast. Also, America Chavez. #4 is out. I believe we have one issue left of this miniseries, kind of redefining her origin. There's kind of the older version of her origin, and this is what we've been talking about around here when we're talking about this book, that maybe they're setting her up for a more cinematic or televised origin story. I keep simplifying.
I keep hearing she might be in the new Doctor Strange.
I could see that, just the way she kind of kicks in dimensional doors and everything. But this is kind of rewriting her origin to, I think, something a little bit more digestible. I mean, her origin before is crazy, just all over the place. This one's a little bit more understandable. And you get a lot of the origin in this. I mean, you basically get a flashback to who she is, why she got these powers, who else might have gotten these powers. Say she's not the only person running around with the star on her chest. So really cool. This is a great series, a great character. The art in this is awesome. And it has a super cool variant. This one is by Aspinall. It's very artistic, really cool variant cover.
Okay, I read Nocterra #5. So I read Nocterra, I read Geiger. They kind of started near the same time.
Mhm.
They're both those indie books that are just really awesome and have stayed good. So Andy's kind of specialized in Geiger. I've specialized in Nocterra. I'm happy to say this is another great issue. The world just keeps expanding and expanding. This is by Scott Snyder and Tony Daniel, who are just a great team anyway. So Val and her brother and Bailey, the girl that she's been protecting from the beginning, they finally get to this place where they like this story. They've been in danger nonstop. They finally get somewhere where they are not in danger for a second. And this place is supposed to have this medical device that might save her brother, take him back from, he's pretty much a monster at this point. I won't tell you if it works or not, but they're at that place. They're going to use that device. There is the scientist there who looks just like the scientist from the beginning, who's the guy who claims he started the whole thing that began this darkness thing. Also, you get some thoughts from somebody who's been in the mind of these creatures, and he claims that this is bigger than just a disease, that this is a big battle between light and darkness. And I'm glad they're elevating it that far. On top of that story side, the interior art on this is fantastic, I have to say. Nocterra has some of the cleanest, clearest, coolest interior art of any comic I'm reading right now. So if you like it, if you've been enjoying it, it's just as good. If you haven't got into it yet, you're not that far behind. You can still jump in. So we got some variants here. This is the Daniel variant with our main character Val on there. Here is the Nord variant. They're just hitting up all their friends for these variants. Just like, come do a variant. Because we're on issue 5 and we got 3 open order variants. And they're all awesome. This is the Francavilla variant. More other things happen in this because they take trucker handles. Bailey gets her trucker handle. I mean, there's all kinds of little things that matter that goes on in this. Here's the 1 in 10 Daniel variant we're selling for $15. Here is the 1 in 25 Francavilla black and white variant for $20. And that was my last one for that.
Okay, another one just to briefly mention. I know it feels like
our shows run longer every time.
I know, and you got to read fairly more in depth than I did. I started to panic at the end, being like, I'm running out of time. But we have Justice League 64. The key thing for this is it is the first appearance of the team, the United, which are kind of a intergalactic Justice League made up of a bunch of species, like I believe the Dominators and a Temerian, like Starfire, a bunch of cool alien characters who are put together to hunt down who we find out is the real villain behind what's been going on. So, first appearance of a bunch of characters. I believe 7. I think it's kind of like 1-to-1 with the regular Justice League.
Right.
Kind of how they do that. So, yep, Justice League 64, and I love this variant. This is the Jason Howard variant. Mostly love it because Aquaman is on it big, and in this they're kind of giving a tour of the Justice League headquarters, and Aquaman's doing part of the tour and stuff, and it's really cool. So.
All right, so I read Batman, Second Son, number 4. This is the last issue. This is supposed to go into depths of how Jace becomes Batman. I've said the first 3 issues, it's like they need to get to the training. They need to get to, this series just didn't go where I thought it would go. Not that it's bad, but it's just not what I expected. They finally, of course, in previous issues revealed that Katana is partly why he's trained so well. This issue threw me a curveball that I actually liked. So while a lot of it still has to do with Jason and his family, so much of Next Batman is like a family thing about the Foxes.
Yeah.
They do reveal, finally, why and how does Jace become Batman. And it actually surprised me. Not that it's like something insane. It was just sort of like, oh, I didn't think it would have went down like that. I'll tell you after, by the way.
Okay.
But it was different than I thought, because you always figure it's going to be some major thing, like Bruce Wayne, how he became Batman. Something big happened to him, and it made him have to do it, compelled him. This is different. This is I guess that's the most I can say. But the rest of the issue isn't really about that. It's really about the story. If you read the first three, it's about all that stuff, and then in the end, it's like, oh, and now here's how he became Batman, real quick.
Yeah.
Not that it's done badly. It makes sense. It's just not the way I thought it was going to go.
It's interesting because I think we had the wrong idea about the series because we had all the variants that had the next Batman on everything. So every issue we're like, and he's Batman.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that. And turns out the story was never that. It was more backstory than I thought we initially thought we would get.
Yeah. And the brothers.
Yeah.
So okay, here is the variant by Rashada Lynn. Very different style. The only other thing that happens in this, aside from just the story about the foxes, is it's more on Simon Saint stuff about him, tightening his grip to get the magistrate set up. That timeline.
Okay, next up we have another one. I feel bad because I keep bringing up Spider-Man. There's not a whole lot to say about it because we are getting close to the end of Nick Spitzer's run. We now kind of know what's going to be coming afterwards. But we know it's going to kind of end off with this Sinister War storyline. And this is the prelude to the Sinister War. We know it's going to be about kind of two battling Sinister Six teams with, I believe it's Sinister Six and the Savage Six.
Yeah.
That have been slowly in the background and the backup stories and everything being pieced together. And Spider-Man's going to be in the middle of it. We, even at the end of this, we see kind of the lineup of the team. So this is definitely setting up what's to come in Sinister War #1, which is going to be the event book that goes along with this. So if you're going to read that, maybe you want to pick this one up just to see, how we get right into it, kind of who the characters are that are currently in Spider-Man's life if you haven't been reading this, like Boomerang and a lot of those. But yeah, so this is the prelude to Sinister War. And then we have the really cool, I love these, and I kind of hope they collect these, and it's kind of a dumb thing to say because it's like, well, they did back in the 80s. But these are the handbook variants. This is by
like Baldian.
Baldian, yeah.
Yep.
And then we have the 1 in 25 Antonia variant that we are selling to our customers for $20. We still got Kindred in there. I can't wait for Spider-Man to finally just punch Kindred right in the face.
So I just have two last books I just want to make people aware of. It's nothing I had to sit down and read deeply. There is a Werewolf by Night issue 32 reprint out. This is, of course, is a first appearance of Moon Knight. I don't know why you won't want to grab one of these at the price that it's at. You get to have a good read. This is also going to be highly collectible, probably, because Moon Knight's Disney Plus series is coming out in 2022. Mm-hmm. And he's one of these characters that is fantastically popular with comic readers that regular people don't know. And as soon as they get into the show, all of a sudden we'll all be talking about Moon Knight while standing in line at the gas station.
You know who else was like that? Iron Man.
Yeah. Yeah. So that is out as of tomorrow. And lastly, the last issue of Batman Fortnite #6 is out. It is polybagged and sealed. We have limited copies of these, so I did not crack it open to read it. The other issues, they gave us reader copies. This one they didn't, so I don't know if anything really important happens in it or not. It's supposed to reveal something about the nature of the Fortnite universe. So that one, I can't say I know, but wanted to make you aware it is out, and it has a variant by Kim Jung-ji.
So he's such a cool artist.
I like Batman's coming back on the balloon. I really hope that happens because it started with him and Harley. He followed Harley into the thing, and a balloon that's just so Wizard of Oz and otherworldly.
Also, that issue you get the redemption code, and this code gets you a Batarang pickaxe that has he's chopping away with his Batarang. My final thing to talk about is, I've talked about this before. My biggest, I'm so happy about it that I told everyone when Stray Dogs 1 came out, this is a great book.
I want to make you room for all of them. there.
I mean, Stray Dogs, I loved number one because, the story was good, the art's good, but it was that combination of this like dark murder mystery with this Don Bluth style cartoon dogs, all dogs go to heaven, and that kind of the art style. And finally, people are catching on that this was such a cool thing, and the prices of the issue one have gone up like crazy. They've done so many reprints, and so they were doing these like second and third printing. So we have, let's see, this is that's the number 3. You can guess what movies these are. I believe, is this the number 1?
No, I think
this is number 2.
Number 1 is The Thing.
Okay, so
I know I grabbed that one right away.
So we have the number 1. I believe it's a 4th print.
Yes.
And all the other ones, I
others
believe, are third prints.
Mm-hmm. You want to look for these at your store because these are already selling above cover price.
Yeah.
They're selling out everywhere. If you think these are cool, get in touch with your store. Ask for them right away. This is the info we try to help you guys know.
Yes. And this is great because a lot of the times it's either the A cover or the variant that have gone up in price. Both of these, they're so unique. The A covers, of course, because they're the first printing A covers, but these horror movie variants they've been doing such a good job with. Also, people are loving these. They want to get all of these, and these are great additions. And they're doing movies that you don't see done too often.
It's true.
So really, really cool. So if you see these, grab them because they are not going to last. I doubt we're going to have them at the end of the day tomorrow.
No, that's why I grabbed mine already. Okay, well, that is our show for you today. Yep, ran long because there was a lot to talk about. That's what we try to do here. We try to do all the work and all the upfront reading so that you don't have to, so that you can go to your store and know what you want, know what you don't want, know what you're getting into ahead of time. There's too many comics to choose from without having this knowledge. That's why we started the show. So thank you very much. We will be back on Friday with Comics from the Future. If you're watching on YouTube, hit subscribe. We keep gaining new subscribers as we forge forth towards 1,000. That is our goal. When we launched this a year ago, I was like, let's see if we can't get to that 1K mark.
Yeah.
So, all right. Thank you, and we will see you next time.